a mobile device forensic expert, Lee Reber. Now listen to this. He's the author of Mobile Forensic Investigations. I have to have that book. Mobile Forensic Investigations.
Nancy Grace had a mobile phone expert on her show. I found this information absolutely fascinating because what he says is that the best witness to Bryan Kohberger's actions on November 12th and 13th is the navigation system in the Elantra. Let's get into it.
Everything you can learn about mobile forensics. We're talking about stingray devices that cops use that just like get a huge data dump. You know, they drive through your neighborhood and they're picking up all this information.
I'm sure I'm behind the times, but this is new for me. So let's find out what a stingray device is and exactly what it does.
On a portable stingray device. Amazing.
Police are using, you're going to want to know about it. It is called a stingray device, and it's capable of tracking cell phones. Now, this is what
International Mobile Subscriber Identity, IMSI, catchers, or cell phone site simulators. Hackers can swipe your phone number, your phone's unique electronic serial number, metadata about past phone numbers you dialed, and even information about past cell phone towers your phone has pinged. Normally, your phone pings the nearest cell phone tower to allow you to text, call, or use your data. When an IMSI catcher is on, it forces nearby phones to register with it rather than the nearest cell phone tower. The most powerful IMSI catcher, according to AP, can be deployed in low-flying aircraft. AP also reported that more sophisticated versions can eavesdrop on calls by forcing phones to step down to an older, unencrypted 2G wireless technology, and some attempt to plant malware. These devices can range in size and price. IMSI catchers are often the size of a briefcase, but they can be made as small as a cell phone. Harris Corp, a tech company from Melbourne, Florida, has manufactured these surveillance devices for years. They sell them under the model names Kingfish, Amberjack, Hailstorm, and Stingray. These devices are designed so that neither the cell phone user nor providers can detect their use.
Within a vehicle, the infotainment centers or navigation, there's so much digital evidence.
Oh, you had a brilliant point about Kohberger's elantra. You know that white elantra we were all looking for? Okay, wait for it. Time out. The alibi that the defense attorney, Ann Taylor, and I'm not faulting her for this. I fault her for even representing him. You know, how can you look at yourself in the face and based on what we know so far, and yes, I know he's not convicted yet, what we know so far, the evidence is incriminating. I mean, how do you stand in front of a jury and say all that is a lie? I don't know. But that said, she's put out an alibi, and the alibi is that Bryan Kohberger likes to take long drives alone at night.
Let's find out what Kohberger's alibi is.
Bring it on, woman.
Buckle up as we pull out of the Steptoe Apartments. All right. In the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Latah. This is the State of Idaho versus
Bryan Kohberger.
Comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney of record, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, and hereby and objects to the state's motion to compel motive of defense of alibi, or alternatively to bar certain evidence. Idaho Code 19519 and ICR 12.1 require an alibi disclosure of a specific location, with a specific location and witnesses to so testify. By statutory definition, Mr. Kohberger may remain silent, yet testify that he was not at 1122 King Road, November 13th, 2022. However, in an abundance of caution and recognizing the court has authority to exclude witnesses, Mr. Kohberger has indicated he anticipates corroborating witnesses. Mr. Kohberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone. Often he would go for drives at night. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th, 2022. Mr. Kohberger is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. At this time, there is not a specific witness to say precisely where Mr. Kohberger was at each moment of the hours between late night November 12th, 2022 and early morning November 13th of 2022. He was out driving during the late night and early morning hours of November 12th to 13th, 2022. Counsel for Mr. Kohberger is aware that case law broadens the definition of alibi with the statutory requirement of a specific location to more broadly include disclosure of information that tends to state the person claiming the alibi was at a place other than the location of an offense. Mr. Kohberger has complied to the extent possible at this time. Corroboration of Bryan Kohberger not being at 1122 King may be brought out through cross-examination of the state's witnesses. At this time, Mr. Kohberger cannot be more specific about the possible witnesses and exactly what they will say. Mr. Kohberger was out driving alone. Corroborating evidence may come from cross-examination of state's witnesses. Corroborating evidence may come from presentation of defense experts. Mr. Kohberger is aware of and will comply with his continuing duty to disclose information.
That may be the weakest one I've ever heard. It's an alibi. Generally you'll see it in situations where it's like this person was over, at a family party. Here are the 10 witnesses that can testify that he was over at this family party. Not that you're corroborating the part where it's, yes, he was driving around in a car around town. I mean, it's not like he was unavailable doing something else.
Yeah, I would say there's a witness. The witness is the nav system.
In other words, it proves something fact.
If they do, in fact, have this evidence from Bryan Kohberger's elantra, it would be very, very hard to dispute all of that and everything that we know thus far.
You stated that that you knew for a fact the 2000 elantra, all the way back to 2011, has the nav system, navigation system.
The driver can operate the system using voice commands after pressing this button on the steering wheel, or the unit's push buttons and touchscreen display. The sophisticated system includes visual and audio prompts, so the driver can get directions without looking away from the road. Destinations can be set using address search, up to 20 previous destinations, intersection search, points of interest, stored addresses, or the emergency category. The navigation system includes the added convenience of a backup camera. It uses the navigation display to show the driver a clear view immediately behind the vehicle, making backing out of tight spaces easy. The backup camera operates automatically when the transmission is shifted into reverse.
Yeah, I think it's important because we all have, or if you've utilized a navigational system within a car, right? You put a starting point, end point. However, if you don't do that, you ever watched, your car just driving along, you haven't put anything in there. Well, it's actually tracking that. It actually can show where you've stopped. It has the computer that's within those cars can show the speed that you've been traveling.
This I found super interesting because Bryan Kohberger's phone was either turned off or put in airplane mode. Listen what this guy says.
So to be honest, if he doesn't even have his phone, right? Supposedly, he turned his phone off, which is again quite odd. But now you're not able to go and turn that off within the tracking system within the vehicle. So I think it's incredible evidence that they have pulled that data from those vehicles.
The nav system shows everywhere you go, everywhere you stop, but it also shows, as we learned in the prosecution of Alex Murdaugh, it shows when you open your door, your car door, when you put the car in park, when you put the car in drive. It showed when he got to the car, opened the door and got in, how long he sat there. When he cranked the car up, when he put it in drive, when he took off, it showed where he went and the speed at which he traveled, when he got to his mother's house, when he put it in park, when he got out of the car, when he went supposedly in, how long it was before he came back out, when he put the car in drive and went back to the hunting lodge at Moselle, when he got out of the car and air quotey, found the dead bodies. It's amazing, Lee Reber. Tell it to me like that, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you that in a vehicle, the telemetry, like you said, car doors open, how long they've been open, windows down, everything is recorded.
Could digital forensics be even more damning than DNA in this case?
You think about DNA always being utilized, but quite honestly, the digital evidence that is available is tremendous. And if you have their computer, obviously you can have the searches and you'll be able to locate the searches on the computer relatively easy. If you don't have the computer, Google is probably the best location or the best way because everyone uses Google, and Google loves to store all your information so they can sell you ads. And so I would imagine if you search for hacksaws and what's the best way, you're going to get a whole bunch of ads about purchasing hacksaws. But, seriously, finding that information on a computer or even on that cloud service is relatively easy for a forensic examiner.
So even when you delete something, it's still going to be in the cloud, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. To give you an example, even if you're not taking, or utilizing GPS or not using a running application, Google will store your routes as you're driving around, you're walking around, you're running.
So I'm pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed, and I keep running. Why is this? When I hit it, always sleeping sunning.
Store those locations within your Google profile, even if you're not using tracking software.